My name is KOT MONOAH. I am the chairman of the South Sudanese Community Association Incorporated, which is South Sudanese Community Association in Victoria Incorporated. South Sudanese Community Association in Victoria is a peak body that advocates and represents South Sudanese in a number of ways. We act as the voice of our community and also being a conduit or the link between the government, other not-for-profit, and our community, and generally being a carrier of messages, if you like, in between those two or three key important parties. When we were elected and came on board, we had challenges, obviously, to make sure that we make contacts and make connections with the relevant ministries and departments in the government, obviously, so that we put forward the challenges affecting the community. We have been trying to advocate. So the challenges obviously ranges around young persons who obviously have been disconnected from the system, are not in employment, are not in schools, and are not engaged in sporting activities, and as a result of that they find themselves with a lot of time in their hands, and an idle mind is a devil's house, and as a result of that obviously we see a lot of issues happening. So that is number one challenge. The other challenge is obviously there are lots of elderly who are disconnected in the community and are isolated. You know how busy it is, everyone is busy in the workforce, and a lot of these elderly don't have employment, and people who care for them, or the guardians or carers, are also busy in paid employment. So we have been trying to work with the elders to provide support for them and try to engage them as best as we can. We also have a number of other challenges, and they include obviously, a lot of people don't have access to sporting opportunities, and even playing socially or having a club, because hiring those venues and facilities annually or per person and bringing a team together is quite difficult. Engaging in leagues as well is also another quite difficult, and trying to maintain and keep everything going. So those challenges, plus the fact that employment is the major issue which is affecting people. So there has been a lot of research that have been done over recent times, and South Sudanese community are affected significantly in terms of unemployment, and some of them are qualified probably with no experience, but where do you get the experience if you don't get an entry into the workforce? So those are some of the challenges, plus many other challenges that are affecting the community. The other challenge obviously as the association is that we have no resources at all to operate, and it is not easy when you have volunteers putting in addition to their full-time job, family commitments, and putting in numerous hours, sometimes as annual between 20 to even 50 or 60 hours a week. That is in addition to your full-time employment, in addition to family commitment. So it's not an easy job, and often you need to be able to encourage the volunteers by being able to provide them with things that may make it attractive for them, because currently the volunteers are the one that pay for their fuel, pay for everything, pay for community functions and resourcing, and it is difficult to operate. I think we're very excited. Obviously, Andrew's Labour government is, it is a good government in my view. Being Labour Party doesn't surprise me that they are traditionally a party that obviously understand the grassroots issues affecting migrants and many other communities. And we receive a funding of $75,000, obviously, to empower the association, and it is over a period of 1 year. So at the moment we are still trying to work out and put together a funding agreement so that we can sign that and then get things going. So we ideally would like to have a functional association equivalent with what other not-for-profit community associations or not-for-profit sector does. And we also had another announcement of $1 million funding over 4 years, and that is going to be in partnership, to undertake a number of other activities. That is obviously still a space that is yet to be explored, because at the moment it was an announcement that was made by the minister, but we don't have anything as to how that money is going to be spent or funded or used or utilized, and for what purpose, other than obviously what the minister said when the announcement was made. I think there is another funding to the African community, which is $6 million funding for employment opportunities. So all this, Clyde, we should be grateful to the Labour government and for obviously being aware and taking African interests at heart and South Sudanese issues at heart. We have been missing out. That's what I've been saying for a long time, and often these are some of the issues that we have been facing, and it is good that we are seeing the government trying to build up an empowerment of the community association so that we can remain at the forefront and try to advocate for people. What I tell young people, I tell them that they will regret a lot of what they are doing. It may not be now, but it will be in 20, 30 or 40 years. There are a lot of opportunities here, and those opportunities are there for them. I know people will complain that there are unemployment. I agree with that. That there are a lot of difficulties. We all understand that. My story is not unsimilar to many of those. When I came here in 2004, just across the road from where you're interviewing me is Victoria University. We were settled in Dandenong, and then later on move out to a place called Endeavour Hills. Making your way to Endeavour Hills, from Endeavour Hills to Dandenong train station, you would catch a bus. Probably on a good day you could take up to 20-25 minutes with traffic, maybe 45 to an hour, and then you would then get on the train and then change at Flinders, and then Flinders coming this way and then taking a bus if it is a winter day to make it here. I used to come that far when I was making my inroad to make my way into the university. That was the opportunity available. I seized it and took it. And mind you, I had no support at all. Some days I would come without any money. On a day when I have $10 or $2, I would buy some chips and last on it. On some days, I would only last on a bottle of juice, which I carry from home. I was malnourished, and I kept going. And here I am today. I'm a lawyer in my 6th year practicing, and I could have used an excuse to obviously say this and that and that. So what I tell young people is, yes, there are obstacles, yes, there are discriminations, there are all those factors, but seize one single thing you can do and try to improve your skills and make an inroad into some sorts of an experienced job that you may get. It could be plumbing, it could be engineering, road construction. Just be persistent. There will be good-hearted people there that will feel sympathetic and give you a fair go. Take that opportunity. Crime will not do you any good. Misbehaving or alcohol will not do you any good. You will only be a one generation wasted, or one member or several other members within generations wasted if you don't utilize those. So that is my message to the young people. My message to the Australian people is this. One is, I understand and feel sorrow for their fears and qualms that those things could be happening. But what I also tell them is that some of those things are born out of ignorance. Some of those are born out of being intelligent enough to read between the lines, between what Channel 7 is feeding them, what Herald Sun is feeding them, what Channel 9 is feeding them, and the reality of what is happening. And the truth of it is, yes, there will be intoxicated, high on drugs, young people who could be doing those things, but hey, we have white Anglo people who are doing the same and committing terrible crimes. We as a black community don't for one fear that those things could happen to us because we are in a foreign land. Yes, they could happen, there is that possibility, but it should not be taken as a gospel truth when you hear news from the Herald Sun, the Age, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, because these are racist media outlets and all they are doing around right-wing extremist views, trying to marginalize and demonize some communities. The other message I would tell mainstream communities is that, people want opportunities, and a lot of these young people that are obviously venturing into all of this is simply because they have come here, they have been trying, and eventually when they are getting nowhere, they get just some peer influence that is just too bad enough for them, and this is what we see. So if we want to stop future generations and the likes of New York sorts of growth happening in a beautiful country like Australia, we should try to support young people at the very early age before other cohorts of criminals make use of them. And we have seen that they are being groomed by drug dealers, for example, who are necessarily not from any other communities other than those that have settled here for generations. And we need to be able to support young people in the communities to look after their own affairs, not when we see problems happening, then we try to address them. We should be proactive to address them before they emerge. And that is my message to the government and to the wide Australian community. One of that is, setting up the office, for example. It is pretty much a channel, first of all, to have someone like, project or an office or project worker trying to put together a working document to understand what are the priority needs of the communities. I think the other thinking that the government has is trying to empower community association to actually have a sustainability, and instead of rolling out the money and using the money and eventually not having a sustainable community association, it is actually trying to have project plans so that people can have ongoing projects. We all know that the government does not only have funds. We have Big Health, for example, we have local councils, we have Scanlon Foundations, we have other philanthropic organizations that provide funding. That is what the government is trying to do, so that people know these other sources of funding and have viable projects that can be funded and have sustainability. It is a good start and a great start, obviously, for the government to give that money, and it may pay for a website or for an office space and all those sort of stuff, and that is what we intend to do with it. We would ideally want to see that we have a sustainable, viable, ongoing community association that is having some presence and that is not likely to collapse. Hopefully, with me and any other leadership that will come after me, that should be the vision, because it takes so much effort to build from scratch. For example, had we come with an existing structure, functioning community association with an office, it would have been a lot more easier. But we came in, and all what we're building now, we need to be sustained rather than having it lost and then having a new wave of leadership all the time coming to build all these connections all over again.